Is Memoriapolis worth it? The game is leaving early access today on the 30th of April 2025 after less than 1 year in early access. Thank you to the developers for sending me a key a few days early so that I can test it for you all, but this is not a sponsored video. I can say whatever I want. They didn't even ask to see, my final video before I post it. Before I share all of my thoughts, let's watch the final trailer together while I explain what this game is all about. This is a mix between city building and 4X civilization. You will build a city along 2,500 years, starting in Antiquity, with things like the Roman Forum or temples, all the way to the Industrial Revolution, where you'll have textile mills, department stores, and way more. But again, all in one city. You will have to feed your people, produce enough building materials like wood, stone, iron, and much more. And at the same time, like foundation, your city will likely look very organic as you don't choose where the districts of houses are built. They are built automatically where attractiveness is high, as long as you have positive immigration, of course. We'll also need to ensure the satisfaction of your people across 5 needs: health, the safety, belonging, esteem, and creativity. Each coming, of course, with their different bonuses and maluses if you don't support them. Then, like most strategy game, you'll also have access to trading, politics to pass laws and decrees, taxes, and much more. But there are also some very cool concepts like the factions, which align to one of the 6 cultures. You can see these 6 colors over here, and you'll have different factions across the ages, where these factions will help you unlock some new buildings, some new decrees, but they will also make requests of you, so you'll need to manage them a bit like political parties. Trying to make all of them happy at the same time is a challenge. So what do I like about the game? Well, honestly, like I was saying, I think it's a very fresh take on the gender for me. Both from the fact that with one city moving through the ages, you can do something really cool. Like here you can see this is more from the Antiquity, then you move into a part of the city that is a bit more from the medieval ages, etc. But also with this concept of satisfaction, where different types of buildings will give you positive impact on your satisfaction, but some buildings or decrees or events can also give you negative impact on your satisfaction. And having a high satisfaction, of course, give you some interesting bonus. For example, if your health is very high, then the food consumption of your citizen is reduced. And then lastly, as I was mentioning, those faction concepts, trying to manage all of them at the same time, really cool there. I also feel like the UI is pretty sleek. It is, with your resource at the top as always. You can see the total resource, but you can easily see also the productions and things like this. And you have, yes, a lot of buttons, but they are all kind of well organized and give you still a great view of the city in the middle. Music and graphic, pretty great too. You can zoom out pretty far. You can also zoom in pretty close. There is also free camera, which you can access with this one button over here. And then you can really do what you want. Take picture from closer and further. You're gonna see a few things happening in your city, but I would have loved to see a bit more animation, both in the buildings. The buildings look cool from afar, but close by, there's not a lot of animations happening. The Esplanade concept is also pretty cool in my opinion. In each of the ages, you're basically going to have 4 types of objectives. Do you have enough resource points? You have your population satisfied to the right level? Faction, are your faction, strong enough? And are you building enough stuff, basically? That's the 4 objectives, right? Simplify. And basically what happens is you're gonna have check-ins. A first check-in at Antiquity, for example, is at cycle 300, the second at 600, third 900, and the final at 1200. Same for the Middle Ages, etc. Right? You're going to have in each of them multiple check-in to see, are you good enough? Are you on track? And I think this is a really cool concept to give you some urgency, but also clear visibility on your objectives. And then last but not least, I do also really like that the game feels a lot more balanced now than it was when it first launched. When it first launched in early access, I did a playthrough where I managed to basically unlock everything. I built every single wonder in one game. That felt too easy, I didn't have to make kind of tough choices. Versus now, it's not possible to build all of them. You're gonna have to manage very strong competing priorities, even with your satisfaction, like in the first Let's Play, all of my satisfaction were through the roof. Now, if you have a couple in the green, you're already good. Does that mean the game is perfect? Definitely not. Let me share a couple of aspects. The first one is replayability. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely some replayability. You have many choices at the start of the game in particular. You can go with the classic mode or the endless mode. The endless mode is where there is not a limit in cycles. You can play as long as you want. But more importantly, after this, already you have two maps. Multiple starting location in these maps, which will have very different types of resource and topology. But last but not least over here, right, you also have the choices between 6 destinies or 6 cultures at the start, which gives you a very different bonus. Like the craftsman gives you natural resource plus 25%, versus the philosopher gives you cultural buildings offer 15% more satisfaction. Or, the trader gives you, when a trade route is in cooldown, its passive income increases by 200%. And so you have all of those choices at the beginning, which will create a different experience for sure. And the game is much more linear than some others, where definitely here, there's so many of these cultural buildings, for example, you'll never be able to unlock them all or to build them all. So in each Let's Play, you can build different ones and your city will look very different. But I do feel a bit more could be done for replayability. Things like a map editor for people to create their own crazy map, giving a few difficulty settings, or maybe also giving the choice of different goals at the start. Like one goal could be, reach a certain amount of money. Another could be have X faction with 100 of power, etc. So to give you really kind of dedicated challenges and a goal to replay it a different time. The second element they could improve, in my opinion, is that there are some key concept that feels a bit too black box to me. For example, here, the power of factions. This is really one of the most critical number in the whole game, because this is how you unlock new buildings, new services too, right? And the services give you access to trading, to political, etc., as well as how you unlock the wonders. But basically, it's very hard. Like you have this number over here, you have this small tooltip that tells you the power of a faction fluctuates with time and past action. Okay, but it doesn't really tell you how can I influence it. What are the things that makes it increase? What are the things that make it decrease? And I don't think actually you can influence it that much. I think it seems it is mostly based on time. You get a faction and with time, as long as you don't do bad things, the faction will increase in power. But as I said, I'd love to have a bit more kind of transparency and also agency on how to increase or decrease it more clearly. Same for your population workers. This, especially at the beginning of the game, this is really the limiting factor. And as far as I understand, your workers basically just 33% of your overall population, but you can't really influence that much, or it's a bit hidden if you wish. Now, before I share my conclusion, I also want to say that I've posted already a short video sharing my top 10 tips to help you get a strong start in this game, which is, again, definitely not that easy anymore. So you may want to check it out after this one. The price of the game currently is €25 and dollars. It may increase slightly after it leaves early access, but I would guess it still stays very far from AAA price. So what's my conclusion? Well, at this price, I really feel like it is definitely a game you should have in your library if you're a city builder fan or a fan of games like Civilization. You will have the blast playing it a few times, and each Let's Play is definitely around 10 hours at least. So is this the game of the year? No, but definitely a great example of a short and sweet early access period leading to a game that, again, if you're a fan of the genre, you should own in your library, in my opinion. I will be posting a Let's Play on this game starting tomorrow, where I'll show you from start to finish the whole game, so you may want to check that one too before making your final buy decision. I would also love to hear in the comments below, your opinion, if you played the game in early access or watching my video. What do you think? What's good? What could be improved? I'm sure the dev will be watching. And now click on the video appearing on the screen, which shows you my top 10 tips to get a great start.